Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition here on Atlantic Television Network. On this edition of the program, our focus will be on the 35th edition of the African Nations Cup ongoing in Morocco. 6 cities and, of course, 9 centers are having the feel of best of African football showcased to billions around the world. That will be our focus. Beyond that, we'll bring you some exciting stories coming as well from the other sporting discipline, boxing, and, of course, tennis. It promises to be very thrilling. When we return from the break, we'll go straight into the other sports before giving you a bit of the best happenings around African football ongoing in Morocco. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition, and this weekend I have with me Mike.
Happy to be here on this weekend edition of Sports Extra right here on Atlantic Television.
Sports Extraordinary coming to you this weekend that enters into week 5 of the ongoing African Cup of Nations. We'll take a look at what has happened so far in the past matches that have been played, and of course take a look into some of the matches that will be coming this weekend and beyond as well. But first, let's start in boxing, where the World Boxing Bureau, newly crowned African cruiserweight champion Afeni Idris, has said his target for 2026 is to win the world title belt currently being held by an Australian boxer, J.O. Patai. Is this possible, Mike?
I think it's very much possible, looking at the way he was beaming with a lot of confidence shortly after that his victory on a Boxing Day. Was a classical display, typical of a harder puncher, where we saw him displaying massively. It took him less than 5 rounds. I think he dropped his opponent in the 4th round of that very encounter. It was a clinical display from him, and of course he's been pep-talked to go further for some big things. We just hope that he can be able to achieve this feat. But taking a look at, he was beaming with confidence while talking to the media shortly after that victory yesterday. I have no doubt that he has a lion heart, and of course he's ready to take to the next stage of his career.
Jai Opataia from Australia doesn't look like someone, the current world cruiserweight champion, doesn't look like someone that is ready to relinquish his title just yet.
Definitely, I think it's going to be yet another big, fight if that sees the light of the day, because the current holder is another big, fighter, one that has a very, very big lion heart as well. So, but in the world of boxing, this is what most, boxing enthusiasts always anticipate to see, some of these jaw-dropping and big bouts between two big punchers, and I just hope that this one is going to see the light of the day.
Fingers are crossed. They're looking forward to seeing a new champion emerge, but Opataia from Australia looks very difficult as we speak to see someone take his title just yet. Meanwhile, we'll go to tennis. And talking about tennis, British #1 Jack Draper will not play in next month Australian Open, the first Grand Slam of the year, coming up in just about a few days from now. No thanks to an ongoing arm injury.
No thanks at all to Jack Draper. I think he started the season very well. In fact, at the early season, at some point, he was, doing pretty well. I thought maybe this could be the year for him, but middle of the season, injury just began to such a big account, and of course we saw him dropping out in some of the major games out there because of the niggling injury that have been disturbing him for many months right now. And at a point where the Australian Open is just quite around the corner, approaching very fast, he's coming to, of course, open up this. I think it's not a good one for him, and the world of tennis will definitely miss him at the Australian Open.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and see how that one pans out. But the 35th edition of the African Cup of Nations is here. And talking about Nations Cup, it's taking place in 6 cities across Morocco. Let's look at how it all started, Mike. This is a weekend where we are featuring day 5 and day 6 of the action after a Christmas Yuletide. We've seen a situation where there's been no shocking result right from the first opening fixture between Morocco and Cameroon and Comoros. It ended 2-0 in favor of the home side, and we've seen a couple of matches played, and for me there's been no shocking result. Yes, maybe an unexpected team to win. Look at it, Mike. Have you been surprised by any of the results so far?
No, not at all yet. No big shocker yet in the matches that have played so far. Maybe as a competition where so maybe we are going to see some of this shocker. But for now, we haven't seen any major shocker yet. Exception of the hosts won their first game 2-0. But yesterday it looked as though they struggled. They actually drew that particular way. Maybe that is the only little bit of a surprise result that we've seen so far, despite the mammoth crowd that pulled out to support the host country yesterday. They could not win that particular encounter. It ended 1-1. So for now, no major upset. Maybe as the competition wears on, like I said earlier, maybe we are going to record any big results.
Talking about big results, we saw one encounter that to me turned out to be as predictable. Tunisia versus Uganda 3-0. And of course, there was an encounter as well where we saw a whooping 3-0. Senegal beating Botswana by 3 unreplied goals.
Yeah, those results are quite expected. Senegal, they are one of the favorites. Of course, they have a great squad, very good players. as well. So against Botswana, it was more like a walkover for them with Nicolas Jackson, scoring 2 in that particular. They could have even scored more, but then they did not take much of their chances. So it wasn't a surprise for me. And for the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia, I think they started in a very fine footing, winning their first game 3 goals to 1. But I think they are also one of the favorites, because you can't mention this year's favorite of the AFCON without mentioning Senegal, Tunisia, maybe Morocco, the host. You talk about Africa Coast, then Nigeria as well.
Well, a difficult one there, and you think if you were to rate, progress of football on the continent of Africa, you think it is what it is? Because for me, it looks like everything is going according to prediction.
Definitely.
Too early in the day to call, though, but that's what it is after maybe first 2 rounds of games.
Yeah, for now, assessing matches played so far, I think they are on course for the right direction. We haven't recorded any major upset yet, or any, maladministration. I think the organizers, the local organizing committee, they actually did their job pretty much well, and that is why we haven't seen any of those obstacles yet. Maybe in the second round of matches, or the third round, or probably when we get to the knockout stage, we'll begin to talk about challenges of any thing at all. But for now, I think everything is going according to plan.
Well, we've just been joined by Amos Elche, a sports analyst based in Port Harcourt, and can we have Amos on? Amos, are you there?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Nice to have you. And of course, our focus for this weekend on Sports Extraordinary is the 35th edition of the African Cup of Nations. You must have been watching the games. We are into week 5, or we are into day 5 of the competition. And are you surprised by any of the results so far?
Well, I think this is about the best African Cup of Nations that I've watched for some time now. This is because, it used to be narrowed down to a few number of teams before. Those maybe 16 teams, and after that going to the quarterfinals to semi-finals. So for those countries that couldn't qualify, we wouldn't know the depth of their team and their players. But with the expanded nature of the outcome now, we're seeing things we never knew could cause upset already doing that. One of the best games I've watched so far was the game between the host nation Morocco versus Mali yesterday. It was football made in Africa, but from a different perspective altogether. I think the entertainment and the euphoria, and of course the quality of players. No country is the mean of anymore. Every country is a major stakeholder when it comes to the outcome. Because for any country who is here with us today, they're actually doing exceptionally well. But one of the results that got me really quickly was, let me talk about the game between Egypt and South Africa. Because South Africa before this game were picked as pre-tournament favorites because of what they did at the last AFCON in Ivory Coast. They couldn't get to the final because they lost to the Super Eagles of Nigeria. The power of Nigeria is always there against South Africa. But Egypt didn't come into this tournament with the depth we used to know, that fury, that anger, that bite, that hunger. We didn't see that before they come into this tournament. But against all expectations, they played against the star-studded South African side, who have always taken advantage of their wonderful local league, injecting their players and always in high parade because they are the best in the continent of Africa. I think they have won fewer number of trophies. But it's wonderful. The 1-1 result yesterday between the host nation, Morocco and Mali, for me, it has been my talking points all along. I wasn't expecting the game to end that way. I was thinking that the Moroccans, with the support of the home fans, in their current form, looking at some of the players, they are UNC and others, the start to this time, some of the players do very well in Europe. But it was not to be. The Malians showed that they are what they are. The country, what do you call them? The Ego of Mali. And they did excellently well. And I hope that they will stay that from going forward. But for Super Eagles of Nigeria against their opponents in Uganda, It wasn't to be.
Well, we'll take our time. We'll take our time to look at the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But first, let's look at an overview of the teams that are in the tournament. This is, like you mentioned, an expanded team where 24 teams are in this tournament. Such a number coming into it. We have at least 4 of these teams coming: Mozambique, Botswana, Tanzania, and Benin Republic. So far, they've participated at the Nations Cup without, having a win. Mozambique has played as many as 15 times, no win at the Nations Cup. For Benin Republic, I think they too have played as many as 14 matches, 15 matches now in the Nations Cup, no win at the Nations Cup. What do you make of these 4 teams coming to the Nations Cup? Yes, it's still into the first round, but maybe by the time we go into the second round, but so far, they have played games without a win, continuing the tradition of not winning yet at the Nations Cup.
I think any coach has to be disturbed, and any passionate fan should be worried that their team is not getting the result that they deserve. It means they have actually not worked very well. They may have been working in other departments, but the strike was a problem. The beauty of football is the results. If you are not getting the result that is expected, it affects almost everything. So if we were to narrow the teams back to the system we used to have, it means that by that qualification, they shouldn't have been in the tournament. So for them to be in the tournament, they have to justify the reason and the purpose of which they are there. Back home, they have a litany of supporters who are hoping that their teams will go very far, and that is not happening. Don't you want to go back early in this tournament? And if you look at the financial gratification that comes along with this tournament, it's huge. For any team participating, you have a lot of money to go back home. Even before the commencement of the tournaments, CAF had already given preparation money to all the participating 24 countries, and that is to help them prepare very well for this tournament. But if at this particular time, if a team doesn't have what it takes, I think it will not be wrong for me to call for the exit immediately, because there might not be a second chance. We've seen 2 matches played in some groups, and others are about playing their second one. If you lose the first and the second, you probably will be out of the tournament instead of coming in as one of the best losing sides. But why would you go for that particular categorization? What is what then is not doing well? For me, these are the contributions. For the Republic, they are a hard nut to crack, but I don't understand what is happening all of a sudden. We have a coach, they have a coach that once coached the Super Eagles of Nigeria with all this blend of experience and all the things, and the combination of forces from Nigerian-born players in their country and other African countries injected in that place. One would have expected that the Republic should be a force to reckon with. But one of those countries who surprised me in this so far is Comoros. Comoros Island is a country of less than 1 million people in East Africa. Their game against Morocco was a pretty difficult one in the opening ceremony. And I never knew the game was going to be end that, because first half was very difficult not to crack for Morocco. It took their own wider experience to come back in the second half to do the magic. But that notwithstanding, what I saw in Comoros Island is quite encouraging. It's just their second appearance in the Nations Cup. But for the other people, like Tanzania will be hosting the Nations Cup together with Uganda and Kenya. But if they cannot take advantage of this particular platform, going back home to play before their home fans is certainly going to be a difficult task for them. So this is a litmus test for them. They have to make everything work as perfectly to get the needed results before the next edition of the tournament.
Okay, Mike, like you're talking about teams who have been to the Nations Cup without recording a win. He just talked about Tanzania. And Tanzania so far, including the matches played in this edition of the competition, they've played 10 games and they've lost 7 and drawn 3. No win yet for Tanzania. He mentioned too, Tanzania will be hosting the Nations Cup next year, in next edition. Do you see Tanzania, making a statement ahead of their hosting capacity at the next Nations Cup?
I think yes, because of the fact that they
might. Well, I still have some couple of okay, Mike.
Yes, Mike.
All right, because they will be hosting, next edition, I think that will help them a little to, of course, find a way to find a winning formula, because it would be so embarrassing that you will be hosting and you've never won an African Cup of Nations match. So I think they've already started their preparation as we speak right now, because I was actually following a news regarding their sport ministry just a few days ago about how they are making frantic effort in order to position their team for the better ahead. So I think with that responsibility, they will be trying to find a way in order to look for a winning formula, come next year. So I think with that, we just hope that they can be able to break the jinx. But before then, they need to start that planning. They need to start massive training so that they can be able to, of course, break that jinx of never ever winning a match in the African Cup of Nations.
4 teams are already at the African Cup of Nations, struggling to get their first win after recording several losses and draws in their previous attempts at the African Cup of Nations. I told you Mozambique, Botswana, Benin Republic, and Tanzania so far are struggling to look for their very first win at the competition. While teams like that are looking for their first win at the competition, Morocco is looking for, a second trophy at the African Cup of Nations. It's too early in the day to see whether they can get at it. But Amos, I'd like to ask you, Morocco in the last decade has improved on their infrastructure and administration, and because of that, they have been most favored in hosting most sporting tournaments. I haven't seen the facility so far on showcase in 6 cities in Morocco. It looks like, yes, they have the facilities, but the fans are not as enthusiastic, going by the figures we are seeing from the stadia across Morocco so far. Amos, can you hear me?
If you look at a country like Morocco, I can hear you. A country like Morocco is not a large country by population. It's a place I know very well. And the vast majority of the population is resided in Casablanca. And Casablanca is about one of the largest cities. And in North Africa, if you're talking about countries with a population, Egypt is number 1. Algeria is number 2. These are countries with large population. Libya is also very okay. But for Morocco, it's a small country. The population is few. So splitting the tournament into various venues, they have 6 stadia at the match open. So where people are supposed to rush from one location coming to another, like a pool to a particular location, now they are split into different locations. So these matches are taken simultaneously or one after the other across venues. Because in a day, about 4 matches are played. So the fans or the supporters or the spectators are split. And of course, if it does not involve their countries at same playing, we don't see more of them in the stadium. They just go back to what is close to them. So that is also affecting them. But I must also give kudos to the monarchical hierarchy of the Moroccan people, the Moroccan government, because they have shown to the world that they are the shining light of African football, infrastructure-wise, human capital development-wise, resources-wise, and others. These people are setting a standard that no African country has ever set. It's a small country, small resources, not even compared to Nigeria. They are not even compared to South Africa. What South Africa has hosted the World Cup before. But I can tell you, by the standards, Morocco is set the European standard and the global standard. They are not compromising on this standard. It's a sport-loving country, and they have not said this just verbally. They are practically showing it to the world why they are the best. And they are hosting virtually everything. Almost everything, even the AFCON last year that we won against them, it's just the experience superiority, the purpose of Nigeria, but by support-wise and other things, these people are way ahead of us. I think we have to go there, understand how they are getting this done. Getting results with minimal resources, I think it's something to be understood because other African countries have to grow. You can imagine, qualifying even for the African Cup of Nations, a lot of countries could not even play matches in their home country. They have to choose alternative venues to play their home matches. The group there, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, for the World Cup. You see them playing their matches in South Africa instead of playing in their home.
Well, we hope we can get Amos on in a short while because he's joining us very soon. But Mike is here. Mike, Amos, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Let's look at the collaboration between the host country Morocco and CAF. CAF so far seems to have brought a lot of innovation into a Nations Cup. The one that has really, triggered a lot of interest among football followers across the continent of Africa is the increase in the prize money. The last prize money for the African Cup of Nations was $7 million US. But the winner for this year, 2025, will definitely be going home with as much as $10 million US. Do you think this is one for which we should clap hands for CAF and its leadership?
Well, for me, I think it's worth appreciating because at all, there's still any bad pass. And from where it used to be to what it is today, everything has increased. Even for stuff in the market has increased. Building materials have increased. It takes more than an average person to set up a two-bedroom flat in Nigeria today. And we know what it takes to prepare for the Nations Cup. And this is actually coming on the heels of the fact that, number one, the CAF president, Patrick Mosef from South Africa, has brought up a lot of innovations to ease the financial burdens on CAF. So that the more the money, the merrier it is. So that there will be good competition for participating teams. Now they have a lot of sponsors and partners who have come together, pulling resources together to make this particular tournament and event go on. I cannot appreciate him less because he has brought something that will encourage everybody. Any country that wins $10 million on the continent of Africa is not a poor country in football. They have a lot of money in your bank account. So if you have $10 million, how much is $1 million today? That is close to $1 billion naira. Then you are going to gain 10 million naira. You are getting close to 10 billion naira in conversion to Nigeria because I'm projecting that Nigeria is going to win the tournament. So that money coming to Nigeria, it will help in infrastructural development, to settle a lot of outstanding debts, to also take care of grassroots football development. And again, this innovation, for me, the reason the CAF is working with Morocco is because Morocco has created itself as the best ambience and environment, serene environment to support sports development, football development in Africa. So working with them is pretty easy. They are close to Europe, just a stone throw. This is a country of which when you stay, you'll be seeing the light, electricity supply of Spain, you see that of Italy. So that is how close they are. So they copy a vast majority of what they do from Europe, and they're enjoying that. So we are aligning with that, and with this innovation, I hope that it becomes a consistent thing. Because even the FIFA World Cup prize money has been increased to $50 million US. That is big money. So whoever wins it has a lot of money on ground. That is even different from other bonuses that come with.
Mike, let me get back to you now. We're talking about the competition, African Cup of Nations, as it's throwing up facilities across Morocco, and is worthy to be emulated by the other African countries developing of their facilities. But beyond that, their football as well has developed. Morocco, to me, is the #1 football playing nation right now in Africa. Why? Because they have gone as far as to the semi-final of the FIFA World Cup, and so they will be seen as #1 football playing nation when it comes to prestige. What do you make of it? They are developing facilities and they are developing in the quality of their football as well. Talents are being thrown up good enough to organize themselves. Yes, organization is another key aspect to be in the semi-final of the FIFA World Cup. No other African country has gotten to that stage of the FIFA World Cup.
I think for me, first off, it was or it is a deliberate step and plan by Morocco. It's not just one-off thing. They didn't just wake up from the slumber to begin to project themselves the way they are going in leaps and bounds in terms of sport development, not just football alone. It took them about 8 to 10 years plan before they can be able to get to where they are right now. The last 5 years down the line, Morocco, they were not this good in terms of sports development, but then they had to take a deliberate and intentional plan to say, okay, this is what we want to do. They had to go and establish millions of hectares of land before they can be able to build some of this infrastructure that you are seeing. And they also went abroad to employ some expatriates, bringing them down to Morocco, to come teach them the basics, and from there they began to pick up. It is not up to even 4 years right now. They are beginning to reap the reward of intentional planning. Just like you said, in the area of football, they are the first African country to get to the semi-final. You saw what their female did when they first attended the Women World Cup. They got to the round of 16, all right? You talk about the underage grade football. They are everywhere dominating in types of the African football right here, even the female version, the Women African Cup of Nations. You saw how solid they performed in the last season. So I think all this development is as a result of well-orchestrated plan, deliberate effort towards taking sport development to the next level.
Well, talking about 2025 African Cup of Nations ongoing in Morocco, we are taking reactions from the matches so far in terms of organization, and the infrastructure, and of course, how the fans are following the competition. Of course, we heard from Amos there. Maybe because of location, some of the fans are not filling up the stadium. We have at least 35,000, maybe 70,000, where even the host nation is playing. So we want to see the stadium completely filled and the fans enjoying it. But so far, so good. But I think there are more fans could still return to the stadium. We'd like to take a break now. When we return for the break, we'll take a look at stars, the so-called big stars of African football, showing themselves so far at the African Cup of Nations. And of course, at the last edition of African Cup of Nations, the video assistant referee was seen as top-notch, at that competition. Are we having the best of the video assistant referee at this year's African Cup of Nations? When we return from a break, we'll look at that and some more, especially European football that is going on at this Yuletide season as well. Stay with us. Welcome back. A Sports Extraordinary Weekend edition, and of course our focus this weekend is the 35th edition of the African Cup of Nations going on in Morocco. We're taking a look at the prize money, the state of facilities in Morocco, and the need for more fans to fill up the stands at the stadium. And now let's look at the big stars on the continent of Africa. Have they so far shown themselves at the tournament? Mike, I'll start with you quickly. We've seen the likes of Algeria, the likes of Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, coming with the big name players from European football. Have they so far shown themselves? Let's give you an example, like we've seen of Algeria. Mahrez have scored 2 goals for his side so far, and maybe leading with the goal scorers chart. Have the other, distinguished, the other star players coming from Europe to Africa shown themselves? We have the Victor Osimhen and the rest.
Yeah, definitely. Just one game or two played so far. So a few of them have also registered their name as one of the African football ambassadors. The likes of Mahrez, which you just mentioned, his strike yesterday took him to made him to become the all-time top scorer for Algeria in the African Cup of Nations. Don't forget Mo Salah as well has also, shown some brightness as well. We talk about the likes of, Nicolas Jackson for Senegal, the Chelsea loanee to Bayern Munich. He also has registered 2 goals as well. So these are some of the key names. We talk about Chanson Bemba as well. All right, if you remember the name, you can also recall what he did in the last African Cup of Nations Cup as well. So these are the few names, likes of Mo Salah. Then you talk about Nicolas Jackson,
Amad Diallo.
Amad Diallo, we haven't really seen of him. Then you talk about the Cameroonian of the Manchester United player. So I think with more games to come, we'll definitely see most of these big name stars, showcase their talents.
Well, Amos, are you here with us now?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Let's look at one major incident so far as compared to last Nations Cup in Ivory Coast. We saw the video assistant referee, very distinguished, there was no error at all. Everybody was commending the use of the video assistant referee, popularly called VAR. In fact, not even the way you have seen it being used. It was so flawless that it was like asking the European referees to see how it was being used in Africa. But at the 2025 African Cup of Nations, it looks like there has been a major incident involving the video assistant referee. A blackout?
Well, you cannot take that out of the African stuff. We are growing technologically, and some of those things are certainly experienced. But not just Africa alone, it happens anywhere around the world. The President of the United States of America, the most powerful president in the world, was to make a presentation at the United Nations ago, where number one, the teleprompter was not working. And when he was coming into the United Nations building using the elevator stopped working. That is the United Nations, the headquarters, global headquarters of all the United Nations countries. So that goes to tell you that human errors or technological errors are bound. Anything can happen. Or scientific errors are unavoidable too. So we shouldn't see that as a yardstick to say, oh, it's a disappointment. It happens anywhere. Even in the main stadium, the main football stadium, in Europe, we've seen a lot of things happen before. So when it goes beyond what you can control, it's called a force majeure. Yours is just to accept that development and move on and hoping that doesn't repeat itself going forward. That notwithstanding, the VAR actually has been utilized in Africa, even though this is not our innovation. You see, when you have an innovation, it's not about the innovation, it's about the person who applies or uses the innovation. So, the fact that VAR is a concept and the actualization of the European does not mean the African man cannot utilize it very well. The African referees have come under strong fire. When we go to World Cup tournaments, you see that we are listed among people because of our consciences, of judgments. They are very pure. So, since they are not in tandem with local standards, people do not trust our decisions and our abilities. But even the video assistant ref, the VAR depends on a human to coordinate and control it, to determine. So it is still up to the center referee either to accept the decision of the VAR or to continue with it.
No.
The ultimate referee.
Let me cut you. Let me interject there, Amos. We're looking at this incident between the Congo DR fixture versus Benin Republic. The people of Benin, and the players, the officials, and the fans are feeling undone by the video assistant referee, going off at the point when there was a penalty offense committed by Congo DR, and there was no way to go back to it because at that point in time, it was blank. What do you think the organizers, FIFA and CAF especially, can do in an instance where an offense is committed like this and a second check or a reserve check is not available? What can be done? Yes, it's football, but in your own opinion, we should just take it like that and that's okay. Well, it unfortunately happened. Nobody controls power. Power can go off anytime, like you mentioned. It had happened severally in the past, and so we should just let it be. But I don't think there should be some level of compensation, at least, for the team that has been denied of a clear offense?
I think it's difficult because whatever is not contained in the document of CAP as to how to assess what happens can never be applied. Like in the Nigerian Premier League, I'm the president of the media directors forum. I'm the media director of Nasarawa United. And I can see that there was an incident that happened between Nasarawa United versus Enyimba in Aba, where a goal was scored, and the goal was actually not scored, but goal must be awarded. It was more like a sack to be awarded. And the ref Chiban was VAR in Nigeria. But because the ref needed to go out of that bench, they had to compel a cameraman who was there to open his camera for the goal to be reanalyzed, whether it was scored or it was not scored. But at the end of the day, we all unanimously agree for peace to reign, just to work out of that environment to point share. So, what am I trying to say? In an ideal situation, whatsoever is not contained in any article or governing rules of a particular organization should not be applied. If the BAR is the only acceptable medium of consultation, if there is a controversy, that has to be it. We do not have a standby consultation mechanism to adjudge whether an event happened or it didn't happen. They all know that it was never a deliberate act. But if it was investigated, it is investigated and discovered that, oh, it was a deliberate act just to punish the Congo or to punish the Republic, whichever way it goes, I think people who are responsible should be held, who did that should be held responsible. They should never be given them because that is a big killer. It's actually not good for our African football. This is the first time we are using the VAR in the AFCON, and it should never be negated as a result of their sheer wickedness.
Okay, let me still stay with you, Amos, because of our reactions. The focus of this weekend in the 35th edition of African Cup of Nations ongoing in Morocco will be the encounter between Cameroon and Ivory Coast. These two, that match comes off later this weekend, and that will be our focus of all the games taking place this weekend. Cameroon versus Ivory Coast. And of course, the reason is simple. Between these two countries, the Nations Cup have been won in Africa, I think 11 times, yes. Cameroon has won the Nations Cup 6 times, while Cote d'Ivoire has won it a record 5 times. The Ivorians are defending champions of this competition. They are going to the FIFA World Cup, right? And Cameroon not going to the FIFA World Cup. So this result looks like this match looks like a match where it might just determine the level which these teams go. Cameroon not going to the World Cup, looking like seeking the African Cup of Nations as compensation. And for the Ivorians, with all the stars on the side, they want to defend the CAF trophy. Can Cote d'Ivoire defend the trophy with a win over Cameroon today, this weekend, or it will be the other way around, the Ivorians showing why they are going to the FIFA World Cup?
I think the Ivorian team has been evolving under their new coach, who helped them to win the tournament last time against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Even though a lot of things happened off the pitch, but one would have imagined if Ivory Coast had not won that tournament on own soil, it would have been very difficult for Nigeria to even get out of that facility. But that is by and large. Cameroon is ranked as one of the most successful AFCON teams because they have won it a couple of times. I think after Egypt, then under Ghana and the next in line for those countries who have actually done very well. Cameroon is growing up. Victor Frigo-Basson, Samuel Peto, Patrick Mboma, and Abubakar now is actually having it pretty difficult because he alone cannot do the job. But I'm happy with the coming of Mbeumo. Mbeumo is doing fantastically well with Manchester United and is one of the star players in this in this tournament. And he has been definitely seen. I watched their first game where he was in electric form. They have other individual players who are equally contributing their part. They have their local problems, including their cricket problem, where former talisman Samuel Eto'o is presiding over. But I just do hope that they will put those to the side. Cameroon is currently boiling through political turmoil. They should use football like it was used in those days, use sport like it was used in those days. In Nigeria, it was used to end the civil war. In Congo GR, boxing was used to equally end certain challenges in that country. So, if I were the Cameroonians, this is the moment to quell down tension, to give hope and assurances to the Cameroonians. No matter what you are facing politically, we can use sport to defeat anything that is a problem to us. Just unite behind this particular indomitable lions to come grounding. If they cannot go to the World Cup, at least they should use the Nations Cup as a compensation ground to pacify their angry thoughts. The last time the African Cup of Nations was hosted in 2022, you imagine what happened. How many people lost their lives there? So all of this is effective to bring some peace and some respite to the fans and families of those who lost their loved ones. But as for Ivory Coast, yeah, they are doing pretty well. Now, a young coach who was there for the FIFA World Cup in their first appearance in France, and Japan and Korea. And I can tell you that this same person is equally helping the team, building a new generation of players who have wonderful passion for the team. The likes of Sangari, who was the one who gave us that headache in the final last edition. Is actually still there. And this guy is doing pretty well. And other individual players too. I think they have what it takes to make a whole difference. To make a whole difference in their country. So it's going to be a tough game. But I can tell you, these two countries will fight it tooth and nail to make sure that they get something to share their fans with.
Talk about getting something, Mike. Amos has talked about these two countries fighting to get something. And for me, one thing they can get immediately at the end of the 90 minutes plus added time of the fixture this weekend is the qualification for the group stage of the competition. In the first game, Cote d'Ivoire beat Mozambique by 1-0. Gabon lost to Cameroon beat Gabon by 1-0. So the two of them have 3 points leading up to this fixture. A win by either side takes them to the group stage of the competition, which looks like what matters as we speak.
Yeah, definitely. These two sides will be hoping to outsmart each other as they go for the jugular, trying to find who, of course, is going to come first in that particular group, because I think it should be between Ivory Coast and Cameroon or who tops the group. They won their first game each, 1-1-0, slim victory, I want to say. But then, because of the magnitude of these games, I think it's going to, produce a lot of goals. And I think both teams will be trying to, of course, see how to win this very one. And that is why it's going to be a very, very keenly contested encounter. For Cameroon, they want to, of course, just like Amos said, use this African Cup of Nations as a makeshift to pacify their fans for failure to qualify for the World Cup. But then there are other off-field trouble as well, just like he also stated, where Samuel Eto'o and, of course, the present President Paul Biya is trying to dictate things for him, which he has not accepted. So a lot of things ongoing, and that may just be the distraction for the Cameroonian side in this clash. Whereas for Ivory Coast, they want to, of course, maintain that pride of saying, all right, we are the current holder, therefore we don't just want to be shipped aside, that we want to fight and see how we can be able to, maybe, if not winning it again, but to get to the final. So it promises to be a massive clash, and for me, I think it's going to be a 50-50 game.
50-50 game. It will be between Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon, according to Mike. But Mike, I still stay with you on this one. Looking at star players, Vuemo for the Cameroon side. There's Wilfred Zaha, Amad Diallo for the Cote d'Ivoirian side. The Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire. Where do you think the stars are more than the other?
I think for me, I go for Ivory Coast. They have the likes of Sankara. Then we talk about Amad Diallo and a couple of other foreign-based pros. For Cameroon, the likes of Abubakar is not there. Onana is not there. So I think the major star that they have is maybe Bram Buemo and a couple of other players as well. But, many times stars don't just play the football alone. Football is a teamwork. You can't just rely on one particular star to make the difference. Although sometimes there are some games that demand some of these stars to step up big to make the difference. But most time, football is better played more like a team stuff other than one man trying to show that indeed he is a joker of a team. But then in all of this, I think both team has a very balanced squad, whichever way you want to look at it.
Well, Amos, let's talk. You just talked about stars now, and that reminds me about what to expect. We've seen Mahrez, give an indication of what he has come to do at this year's CAF African Cup of Nations. Do you see these stars making up? There is, of course, the Egyptian god himself as well on one side so far in this competition. Was it recorded?
Well, Mahrez is a great player. He won the Premier League with Leicester City. Before he moved to Manchester City, he won a couple of laurels with Manchester City. Fortunately, he came from there. But you cannot take that out of him. He has equally won a player of the tournament. He has equally helped his country, Algeria, to win the AFCON, the last day. He's an incredible player, I must tell you this. He's a wonderful player, a great player. There's a player I know one-on-one, and I've been to his home country in Algeria. I talked to Constantinos. I went to Algiers to meet some of the relatives, and they have sport, football, played in their DNA in Algeria. Like I said, share a whole lot of things with even the French, with France. So they have this particular thing. Algeria is a non-league when it comes to football, so the likes of Zinedine Zidane came out of that place before playing for the French national team. But for Algeria to win this Nations Cup is pretty going to be difficult because that composition of talent they used to have, they don't have it again. And some of the greatest players from Africa who are playing their trade in Europe today are not Algerians. They're not the people who are doing very well now. Nigeria, you have Morocco, you have Ivory Coast, and Senegal too is equally doing very well as African exports to Europe. All these people are doing very well. If you come to Ivory Coast, like Mike said, Ahmad Diallo is a young player who is doing pretty well for Manchester United. As for Christian Zaha, he's actually losing for because I watched his last game. He wasn't actually at his best. But the likes of Ngari, who is one of the young bloods in the team, is actually a big threat to any defender. This guy is quite exceptional. If you come to Cameroon too, they talk about this. So I'm looking at, Nigeria is going to go far, but I don't see them winning the tournament. Then if you talk about Egypt, Mohamed Salah is actually exiting his prime, the moment of his glory. There is every moment in life, everybody has four phases in life. That early stage, that middle class, and that particular stage, and then the final stage that you say you have to retire from the scene. Mohamed Salah used to be a big threat to any team, to any defender, to any club. But today, you see what he's going through with Liverpool, as he's finding it difficult. Even though he hasn't forgotten his football prowess, but I can tell you, one star player cannot make a whole difference in the whole team. You need a combination and the support of the teammates together. So if you don't have the same play, if you don't have players which the same aura, the same passion, the same that God with you, who certainly will be just roaming around the field with no support for you. Egypt, I may not be seeing them equally going to fight this time. It's just hovering around the Super Leagues of Nigeria, Morocco, and Ivory Coast. I also see Cameroon going far a little bit too. These are the teams that I think have what it takes to win this tournament.
Well, thank you very much. I think we're running out of time, and so we'll have to begin to wrap up the program from this stage. But I have to bring you something quickly that is breaking in Europe. Is the featuring of the two sons of Diego Jota in the encounter between Liverpool and Wolves this weekend. How do you see such a scene, Amos? The memories of Diego Jota, still around with Liverpool and their fans.
It's actually emotional, even as you made the mention of that. Tears almost running down my eyes because I followed everything that happened with that Liverpool player, promising player, great player. How he was involved in the accident with his brother, and then after everything, passed away. We're not talking about it again. He achieved a lot. He went through a lot in life and said he would use football to bring succor to his family, to his neighborhood, to his community, to people around the world. But unfortunately, death snatched him away from us at an early stage. With children participating in that Liverpool match, it's a reminder that people should not be valued only when they are in existence. Even in their absence, they should still value them. This is the only way we can tell future generations that whatever you are committed to doing, there is a reward for it. And I do know that even that particular jersey number has been relaxed by Liverpool. I don't know what goes for that. Maybe they are continuing going to use that jersey number. But in Europe, and I wish it's replicated in Africa too, we must honor our heroes. We must honor those who have paid the supreme price. We must honor those who have sacrificed a lot for the growth and development of wherever they belong to. I think that is the only way other people will have the passionate goals and the will and the zeal to really go beyond expectations to achieve collective goals for our existence. I think I love what Liverpool is doing. I will take my time out to equally watch how that feels like. And then what I do is going to be an emotional moment. People should be remembered, both in death and in life, for what they have done and they are doing.
Thank you very much. And with Mike, our sports extraordinaire for this weekend couldn't have been any other than Michelle Alozie. She's moved from Houston Dash now to Chicago Stars for 3 years, and of course that goes with a lot of money as well. But this is a recognizable Super Falcons player.
Definitely one that shine bright. On the lighter note, we call her our national girlfriend right here because of the fact that she has garnered a whole lot of fans. So I think it's a very big move for her. A deal worth about 580 million, a massive one for Michelle Alozie, and I think she truly deserves it.
Congratulations to Michelle Alozie, Super Falcons player that's moving from Houston Dash now to Chicago Stars, and promises to, let's say, the best is yet to come for her. And that will be it for this weekend. The African Cup of Nations is still ongoing. We'll keep tap of it for you next weekend as well, when more matches will have been played and more goals scored. Emerging stars are all already also emerging. So we'll keep our fingers crossed until next weekend when we return. Definitely within the week, we'll be giving you snippets of what has happened at the African Cup of Nations. Many thanks to Amos as well for being part of the show this weekend. Until next weekend, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.